enslaved, we would die. The Singh and the Imam in jail as well, they said we would rather die than be enslaved by these people. And even the Gursikhs, we mentioned the Kullukaris, the Gursikhs fought and they said we would rather fight to death than be enslaved. And where does this spirit of freedom come from? And it wasn't just their freedom, they even risked their lives for the freedom of others in Punjab as well. I mean, look at some examples how the Gursikhs, they defended Punjab and Punjabis, and they defended us Hindus and Muslims as well. And where did that thirst for freedom come from, or the thirst of being free and making others free? And one thing reading that quote which comes to mind is Guru Har Gobind Maharaj, Bandi Shor. What happened? Why do we say Bandi Shor? Why do we call Guru Har Gobind Maharaj Bandi Shor? Penji here, the back of the voice card. Why do we call Penji? Why do we call Haji? Why do we call Guru Har Gobind Maharaj Bandi Shor? How many? 52. 52 political prisoners. Guru Sahib, he released them from that captivity. And Guru Har Gobind Maharaj, he said that you are allowed to go, you're free to go. But even though he's allowed to go, other people's freedom meant more to Guru Sahib. And even though he's free to go himself, he said, no, I'm not leaving until these people are freed as well. And it shows that value and that spirit of Guru Sahib, how that was infused within the Sikh. Whatever Guru Sahib did physically, Guru Sahib put that spirit within us as well. They basically built up the Guru Sikh's character, the Khalsa's character. So if you're thinking, whilst we're looking at the 18th century, we keep in the back of your mind Guru Har Gobind Maharaj and how he freed the Raj in that spirit. Okay. I will start with Gurdas Nandan in 1715. Baba Banda Singh Bahadur, he was sent to Punjab by Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj to get justice. Badla means revenge, and revenge is not a word used in Sikhi. That shows growth, that shows anger. And Maharaj in Sikhi is above the caste. So the word revenge never comes in Sikhi. You know when the Hindu, when they're in 1984, what the Hindu gangs used to say, like Khoon ka badla khoon, you know, frenzy Gusse vich, krodh vich, but Gursikh di badla in the insaf lende. Even when you say that Gursikh, for example, when he did something like that, it's not that they got revenge, that what they did, they got justice, they delivered justice. Okay, so Baba Banda Singh Bahadur, where did he set off from? Anyone know? When he's given the hukum to go to Punjab, where did he set off from? Where did Baba Banda Singh set off when he was given the mission to go to Punjab to deliver justice for the people who had made the shortest sides of the Shahid and the other injustices which happened in Punjab? Where was he sent from? Which place? No. Huzur Sahib. Huzur Sahib ne kiya. How would you know that? Is it Nirmit ki rise the Khalsa? Just we half asleep watching it. You know, what kind of film dikhi jo dharmik film, oh God, yeah, you watch it, but you haven't, taken anything from it. So I just remember because we played it last week's camp as well. So basically, you need to read about history as well. This is just a bit of a collective. We're going to just try to get some inspiration from some summarized galla. We're not going to cover the whole of 18th century, but the main thing is you have to catch, you go and research yourself. Baba Banda Singh Bahadur was sent from Huzur Sahib by Guru Maharaj to get justice. And then eventually, Baba Banda Singh Bahadur, he had an army of, his army grew to 25,000, some say, some historians say. And he then won over Sirhind, and eventually he became the ruler of Punjab as well. The Khalsa Raj, the first Khalsa Raj is actually Baba Banda Singh Bahadur. But the Khalsa Raj soon, because the Sikhs were Qurayshi and the Mughals, they sent more and more forces to Punjab to break down the Sikhs. The Singhs had retreated in a place called Gurdas Nangal. And when Babaji got there, this is 1750, 15, it was clear that they weren't going to come out, alive and in one sense. What happened is, whilst they were in this Kachi Gadi, they were in this mud fortress, they ran out of food. Because the Mughals had surrounded the Gurdas, they had actually surrounded the fort. So no one could come out and no one could come into the fort. So eventually they would lose water supplies, eventually they would lose food supplies as well. And when you read historical accounts of Gurdas Nangal, the Gursikhs had such spirit within them that when the food ran out, when the atta ran out, when the dala ran out, they start getting trees, the tree bark, they would grind it, take up the skin off the tree bark and then grind it and try to make atta with that. And then they would eat the leaves of the trees, and there would be no water. And similar in 1984, when the electricity in the Pani was switched off in Harmandir Sahib, and the Jaru Singh was there. A.R. Darshi writes that he was a writer, former Chief Minister of Punjab as well, Chief Justice, sorry. And he writes that the Gursikhs used to drink their own sweat to quench their thirst. So that's in 1984. You can imagine a similar type of things, a very extreme situation, nothing to eat or drink, but they didn't give up. They didn't give up. And eventually they became so weak that they couldn't hold their own shastras. In them they become, so you can imagine that when you see pictures of the Holocaust camps and you see the really, the Jews with all just bones here, when you become, because you've been deprived of food. Can you imagine the Gursikhs so hungry, so thirsty, they've lost all physical power, that they couldn't even hold up their shastras to fight. And eventually the Mughals attacked and they took over, they captured the Gursikhs and Babaji. And they were for 8 months, 8 mahine in the Gurdas Nangal, and they didn't surrender. Can you imagine going hungry, going thirsty? And it's very easy thinking, okay, what's the point now? But what was their spirit? Look at their Sikhi Siddhak, their faith. Prosayan Guru, for 8 months, they stood there, they said, no, we're not going to go. And only after 8 months, when they become so weak, then the Mughals basically took advantage of the situation and the fort was seized. What happens then? When they're arrested, then they're taken to Delhi, and they're taken in a procession to Delhi. From Gurdas Nangal, from Punjab, they're taken all the way to Delhi in a procession. Then the Gursikhs are made to march in columns. They're all there. And every time they reach a village in Punjab, what would happen is they would get about 3 to 5 or so, they'd get a few Sikhs out of that procession, and then make them stand in the middle of the village. In the middle of each village, they have this open area. And when they make them stand in the middle of the bend, they will say to these Gursikhs in a line, are you Sikhs? Are you willing to give up your Sikhi? They said no. And the second question they will say is, either you die, or all you have to do is say that we will not follow Baba Banda Singh Bahadur, nothing else. That you will say that you will no longer follow Baba Banda Singh Bahadur. You don't recognize his authority, and then we'll let you go. But even to the fact of saying that we turn our back to Baba Banda Singh Bahadur, history tells not even a single Sikh turned their back to Babaji. So first they asked them to give up their religion, and they said, if you're not going to give up your religion, just turn your back to Baba Banda Singh Bahadur. But there's so much pyar, there was so much faith, there was so much Sikhi, that no Gursikh turned his back to the other Gursikh. No, even a single Sikh turned his back to Baba Banda Singh Bahadur. And each of those Sikhs used to be then, they used to have their heads chopped off in public. Why? Because when your heads are chopped off in public, everybody sees you. That no one should become a Sikh. Similar to Operation Woodrose in Punjab in the 1980s, when in one day, approximately 25,000 Sikh Najwan, Sikh youths were killed in one day. How? That from the government as a policy, from the police as a policy, that from each village, they got Najwan, and they would get them in the middle of the village, Amritari Najwan, and they would shoot them in public. Why? So the people have done that I don't my charge to be wearing a karpan, I don't my charge to wear a Kesri Dastar, I don't my charge to be a serious freedom fighter. So many people cut their hair in Punjab. Similar thing that people go in the middle of the village and they were killed so that it sends a public message. And then eventually they arrived to Delhi, and there's one famous Sakhi by Haqiqat Singh. And by Haqiqat Singh, he was a young lad. He was, his age is people vary in the Sakhi card. Well, roughly about 15 years old, you can say. And he ended up being rounded up with the other Gursikhs. As he was walking, he ended up marching with the Gursikhs who had been taken as prisoners. And he got arrested as well. His mum found out, and his mum went crying, and she went to the person in charge and said, please release my son, that my son is not a Sikh, that Hindu are, and by mistake he's been taken with the Sikhs. That's all, by mistake. And they said, if that's the case, then we don't know anybody else. So they said, okay, bring your son. And she had a letter, to state that, my son is not a Sikh. Anyone tell me what happened? What happened then? Hanji, Veer ji dasso.
बच्चा सी वो कहता कि मेरी माँ झूठ बोल रही है मैं सिख हूँ
शाबाश कहते मेरी माँ झूठ बोल रही है because she is first कहते ये मेरी माँ ही because is this your son because मेरी माँ नहीं can you imagine to your own mum you say ये मेरी माँ नहीं कहते जे वो एक गल कहती है कि मैं सिख नहीं ये मेरी माँ नहीं I don't know her I'm a spirit to say to you oh mum जिन तो पाल लेते हैं प्यार करते हैं that I don't know you I don't recognize you you're not my mum if you said that I'm not Sikh you're not my mum and who did he say my mum is who is his mum did he say Mata Sahib Kaur can मेरी माँ तो Mata Sahib Kaur ही नहीं मेरी माँ can you imagine the Mavi when the Ma heard I was just getting Pindar Pal Singh Dukat on this Sakhi and he said when the Ma heard her own son showed so much faith she felt embarrassed herself she felt and she was very emotionally moved as well she was so moved that made him wonder he got so much pyar for the Guru so much pyar for Sikhi and then she realized as well that her son's going to become Shi and then by Haqiqat Singh but then his head was beheaded as well in 7 days 700 Sikhs had their head chopped off in Delhi and even if you notice in this picture here this obviously a depiction in by modern artists but here can you notice these two people in white kapre can you tell me what you reckon they are who they are this one Anji मैं तो this one आप कितना दे बंद आप मुगल लगते कानून हाँ जी British अच्छा go ahead they're European people and at that time there were Europeans in India at this point there were Europeans Portuguese the Spanish they were there the British were there and in their chronicles they write that every day 106 would be massacred and their heads would be slaughtered and there would be heads upon heads of Sikhs but not a single Sikh gave up his faith not a single Sikh said that okay I will cut my hair not a single Sikh said that I will accept Islam not a single Sikh turned their back on a fellow Sikh all of them has ke they only qurbani qurban ki thi they accepted being sacrificed and because of time I'm going to do a little summary of a few more I'm trying to go chronological order so in 1726 there's a campaign against Sikhs so last we looked at 1760 we're going a bit more ahead in time now and this is when by now again this is Mughal and now you got the Afghans as well the Afghans, the Iranians, the Mughals, all of them are coming into Punjab and they're stepping on one of the shoes. In a way, it gives the Sikhs a bit of a rest as well. Because whilst the Afghans and Mughals were fighting amongst themselves, that gave the attention on the Sikhs, it decreased. But then Zakaria Khan, he then sent for a hunting force against the Sikhs. That he realized the Sikhs that they're really pestering him, that every time that he's tried to do, some atrocities, or they try to capture girls, they try to capture treasury, money and stuff. The Sikhs would always come and interfere in his plans. So he got very fed up with the Sikhs, and he decided to send a 10,000 force to hunt and exterminate any Sikhs found in the Punjab. And at that point, the Sikhs, they had their heads sold in Lahore as well. And I was reading Dr. Sagar Sikh's book when I was coming on the aeroplane with Bharatasi. Dr. Sagar Sikh's book, The History of the Sikhs. Always see that for those who brought the case of a Sikh, if you found a Sikh and you got a kenchi and you cut the case of a Sikh, you cut his beard or you cut his top of their hair, you were given a blanket. You would get a blanket as a reward. So obviously imagine the blankets were very, must be a valued item in that time. That's the prize you were given for cutting a Sikh's hair. Then he was saying if you bought a Sikh alive, you were given so much amount of money. And if you bought a Sikh's head, if I remember correctly, it was 500 Mora, if I remember correctly, it's a 500 gold coins. So this is how our heads are being sold. And it kind of made me think, yesterday we were doing Vichar about how we came into Sikhian, people sharing their stories, and someone asked myself. And I remember my last haircut was when I was 15 and a half years old. And I remember it was in a local barber, Musliman, he was a Pakistani guy. And he was the cheapest guy who cuts people's hair in our town. And I remember sitting in the chair and having his trimmer go across my, on the side of my head, and he was getting attention, cutting the top of my hair. And I remember the thought of being so dishonoured. For some reason, this feeling of being dishonoured came over me. Thinking that, like internal rape or something. There's really strong feelings of being dishonoured type of thing. And then I gave the guy £5, and then when you're reading this, that our forefathers, they had their case cut by force, and they were given prizes, the people who did this. And then you think, I've given them £5 for doing this. And that really, wounded me, or that really, made me think and made me change. And with Maharaj Kirpa, that was my last haircut. His actual policy changed about the Sikhs. First, they were anti-Sikh, and he realized that Jinnah si Sikhs maar de are, that they're not really dying, that they're still causing us a big problem. And with this, a few of his advisors who are sympathetic to Sikhs, they decided that, okay, we're going to change our policy about the Sikhs. Instead of killing them, we'll embrace them as well. We'll embrace them there. And that's why you had Bhai Manvir Singh, who was a Sikh, who worked for the government. He worked for the Lahore Darbar. He was a Sikh, but he worked part of the, I think if I remember, in the administration office, he worked in there. So they thought that they might become, if they're Sikhs, we give them positions and we accept them, then perhaps there'll be less of a problem. But even that didn't last for long. We'll come revisit this later on as well. In 1733, this is a father and son, Bhai Manvir Singh and his son Shahbaz Singh. And his son used to learn Persian from the Maulvi. Because he was very handsome, he wanted him to marry his daughter. The Maulvi, the Muslim priest, the Qazi, the Imam, wanted Bhai Manvir Singh to marry, Bhai Shahbaz Singh to marry his daughter. But because he was Sikh, he said, look, you need to convert to Islam. And he said no. And he found it a great insult that, oh, this guy is really nice personality, really nice, handsome guy, but he's not converted. So eventually they told Zakaria Khan, and they got the father and son to either have an option, they either convert to Islam or he'd be put to death. I'm cutting the story short and summary in all of this, or Sakis. And what happened is when they were standing there, the Qazi comes to Bhai Manvir Singh and says, your son has accepted Islam. This is one version of the Sakika. There are different versions of Sakya, but Tapaban as well, you could read, this is the version which Bhai Manvir Singh wrote. That your son has converted to Islam, only he has verbally accepted that मैं मुसलमान बन जाऊंगा. And when Bhai Manvir Singh heard this, my son said verbally that he'll convert to Islam. And he looked at his son with the most Murriyad, Bhai Manvir Singh. And they picked up some mitti, picked up some dirt from the ground, and he said he recited the Guru Mantra, Vaheguru the Jap Kirkini. So he recited the Guru Mantra, he did Vaheguru Jap, and then he got the dirt from the ground and threw the dirt on his forehead. So he picked up dirt, and then he got the dirt and threw it on his forehead. And when he threw it on his forehead, they said, ask him now. Ask him now. And they said, so they went and asked Bhai Manvir Singh, you are willing to become Muslim, aren't you? And he said, no, I'm not. I'd rather die. This shows, when I was reading this Sakhi, it showed the power of Bani, the power of Guru's Kala. And who is, we say our Kismat is recorded in our forehead. Yeah, our Bhag or Kismat, our destiny is recorded in our forehead. And who can change our destiny? You're talking about Karam, Bhai Sadhra talk about Karam, Bhai Sadhra Singh. Our Karams can change in one instant if Akal Purkh himself decides to. And the power of the Purusan Guru and the power of Naam, that when his father threw the dirt and did the Guru Mantra and recited the Guru Mantra, that when it hit here, the lines changed, his destiny changed, his Karams changed, and the Karams which said that he will become a Muslim changed. He said, no, I'll rather accept death. And then father and son, they were put in between these wheels and crushed to death. There are spikes in between, and they were crushed to death. But none of them gave up their religion. None of them gave up Guru. And it comes back to the question which was asked when Dr. G did his talk, when someone said about pain and suffering. How did these Guru Sikhs go through that? They've been torn up alive. And it reminds, even you got pictures in Gurdwara Sahibs of modern day Jajaru Singhs or Shaheed Singhs. And I'm sure you've seen pictures of Guru Sikhs being cut up alive. I know you've seen the pictures of they've been torn apart, their bodies being ripped apart by the Punjab police. How did these Guru Sikhs endure such pain? And that's the power of Bani and the power of their Red, the power of Prosan they had in Guru, that their minds became so strong and that they could overcome that. Now go further, coming back to the thing which I mentioned before, that we'll revisit that about the Mughals changing their policy. This is Sardar Kapoor Singh. And anyone see what's he doing there? What do you think he's doing in the picture? Gathering the horse dung. Okay? He was a stable keeper. So all his seva was the horse dung, to gather it and to keep the stables nice and to look after the horses. And he taken numbers in 1721 of the Sakhi. And in 1733, Zakriya Khan, he decides to give the Sikhs a position or give them some land, thinking that perhaps if I give them some land and I give them a Nawabi means you're in charge of a certain area, that perhaps these Sikhs will calm down again. These Sikhs will calm down. And so the Sikhs were confused, and some Sikhs said, no, we shouldn't take this Nawabi. If you take this Nawabi, as Guru Gobind Singh said that we should be doing Raj. That's not Raj. Nawabi, if you're just in charge of one small area, that's not Raj. That we're taking the shorter straw. But others said, it's better taking something than nothing. At least from that we can build upon that. So eventually, what happened is they were looking for someone who could take this position. Who could become the Nawab. The Khalsa was offered a Nawabi. The Khalsa was offered a certain amount of land which they could be in charge of. And then the Khalsa was decided who could do this seva. And where in modern Gurdwara is this, you do elections, election whoever's got the most votes, then they become the Pradhan and the committee of the Gurdwara. And in the modern day, our institutions, the leader of our institutions are just picked because they for political reasons rather than for any other spiritual or gurmat reasons. It's a hukum from the Panch Singhs, hukum from the Panch that you are going to be the Nawab. And he goes, even though he didn't want to, because it was hukum from Panch Singhs, then he goes, that's hukum from Guru, so accepted. But he goes, there's one condition. I'll only accept the Nawabi if you can answer one condition. Anyone know what that one condition was? Hanji, Virji. He goes, and even though I become a Nawab, I don't want anyone taking this seva away from me. As a stable keeper, cleaning up the horses, cleaning up the horse done with his own hands, I don't want anyone taking that seva away from me. Still as a Nawab, I want to do that seva. And then what happened is when they got the Nawabi, when they got the papers for the Nawabi sent from the Lahore, the Panj Singhs to accept it, Khas had to accept it. The Panj Singhs put their bear on the piece of paper. They put their bear on the piece of paper to accept that the Khalsa accepts this. So in a way, it shows the spirit of the Khalsa. So we accept your Nawabi, and how do they accept the Nawabi? The Panj Bihar, they put their bear on the piece of paper that says that, we have granted you a Nawabi. And that's where you stand, it's not one of those articles we go and suck up to people. It still shows the Sikhs still had their heads up high. Then during Bhai Kapoor Singh's time, Nawab Kapoor Singh's time, in 1734, he made two dals. Dals are like federations. Do you understand federations? Like two groupings, federations. And there was a confederation. The confederation is a bigger group, and that was called Dal Khalsa. And the federations in them, then that had Buddha Dal, and you had, sorry, that's me, so this is Buddha Dal, Tarna, and then you come Dal Khalsa afterwards. Buddha Dal, there are two groupings. Buddha Dal were the veterans, 40 years and plus, Siane Buzurgs. And their seva was to look after Gurdwara and do Prachar. It makes sense that logistically, if you're old, Siane ho gaya, you're not going to be put down and doing combat too much. So your seva is to look after the Gurdwara and to do Prachar. Then you're the Dharma Dal, they were under 40s, and they were the action people. They would be on the front line. Eventually then Dal Khalsa would make, and Dal Khalsa is a bigger group. And under Dal Khalsa you had 11 missiles. Missiles, so from the two groups, then you got the missiles. The missiles, anyone explain the missiles? They were like small groups of guerrilla warfare. There were 11 of them. Of that, people say there's 12, but out of one of them, one of the missiles, they were traitors because they would sometimes conspire to act against the Khalsa. So that was by Ara Singh from Patiala. They would sometimes act against the Khalsa, so they were not considered to be part of the missiles. And even there, the responsibilities were guarding the Guru cars, building bungas. Do you know Benji showed pictures of bungas, the tall towers? That's where they would guard. It used to be watchtowers. So the Khalsa, there were loads of bungas around the Barsa. The reason for these towers, which are now being destroyed by the SGPC, is that the Khalsa would go on these towers and watch out for enemies and enemy attacks. So it makes sense that you have bungas around main Gurdwara to make sure there's no attacks, and that's where the forces will stay. And they would guard Akal Takht Sahib. Do you know when we say Jathedar? The Jathedar Akal Takht, Jathedar means you got a Jatha. Historically, there used to be a Jatha of Singhs, a group of Singhs, who would guard Akal Takht Sahib, and the Jathedar, there was a leader or a representative of that Jatha who would be the spokesperson. This is a British person who was traveling through Punjab, George A. Forster. He was traveling through the Punjab during the times of the missiles, during the time of Dal Khalsa. And this is what he says. He says, being at the time in Rolkhand, I witnessed the terror and a general alarm which prevailed among the inhabitants who, deserting the open country, have retired and formed some places inaccessible to the cavalry. So basically showing how the Singhs had moved to the deserts, had moved to the jungles, because the Sikhs, they were doing guerrilla warfare, because they couldn't fight face to face in big battles, because logistically it wouldn't work out. So guerrilla warfare means you come, you attack, and then you go back, you retreat. You attack at night time and you come back. Then he said, I saw two Sikh men who had been sent from their country to receive tribute, which is collected from the revenues of certain custom houses. From the manner in which these men were treated, or rather treated themselves, I frequently wished for the power of migrating the body of a Sikh for a few weeks so well did these cavaliers fare. This Ghoda was so impressed seeing the Gursikhs, so impressed by seeing the Khalsa, that he wished that he came in the body of the Khalsa just to feel how it felt to be a Sikh, how it feels to have so much honor and respect. And yet the Sikhs, they used to sleep on horses. They sometimes didn't have enough time to stay somewhere, and they were always on the go. It was quite harsh conditions. But even though that they didn't have these riches and physical, signs of being, in high positions, just seeing their spirit, seeing how they walked, how they talked, their Rani, their Berni, their Gani, their Sani, he felt that, I was so impressed that I wish I was in the body of a Sikh to see how it feels like to be a Sikh. No sooner had they alighted, then beds were prepared for their repose, and their horses were supplied with green barley pulled out of the field. The travellers were contented to lodge on the ground and express their thanks for permission to purchase what they required. Very simple lifestyle. They were going there, they would ask for money for the Khalsa to protect the people of certain places. The people would give the Khalsa some money. And seeing them, that is very inspiring that Agora was so moved. Moving on with time, and now in 1738, Nadir Shah comes to Punjab. Nadir Shah came from Iran, and he wins Delhi in 1739. And like I said before, when the Iranians come, or when the Afghans come to India, they fight with the Mughals, and it ends up that the Sikhs always in an advantage situation, because the attention of the Sikhs is taken away. And Nadir Shah starts to fear the Sikhs. Anyone know why does Nadir Shah start to fear the Sikhs, or why is he so fed up with the Sikhs? Benji, do you know why Nadir Shah became fed up with the Sikhs? Virji, tusi? Anyone?
Basically, he used to plunder the lands here whenever he attacked India. He used to take away the ladies and the Sikhs used to pounce on them on violent accident, free those ladies away.
Thank you, Bhai Sahib. That's Bhai Sahib. The Sikhs used to, when they used to take the luti, they used to capture beautiful Indian women, Hindu women. They used to capture them, the ones which were very nice looking, were beautiful, and they would sell them as sex slaves and prostitutes in Kabul and even to Iraq. Iraq, do you know Basra? There's a place there, Basra. They would send them even to Iraq and sell Indian girls there as slaves, and to become concubines, or to become prostitutes, or to become wives. And again, it comes to similar to what Benji Balvinder was talking about, and Bhai Sahib was talking about. These Gursikhs, they had such a spirit, such parpakari jivans, that during Khalsa, not to apni aap hi bhakti kari jo, parpakari hunda hai. Khalsa soye jo nirdhan ko paale. Khalsa is one who looks after the people who are poor, who can't help themselves, who cannot defend themselves. And the Khalsa would go there at night time, and when they were taking the girls and all the treasures they've looted or plundered from India, they would go and attack, and they'd free the girls. And one thing is that when the girls which were captured, the way they were kept in terms of captivity was that they used to have their nose and their ear pierced. In India, having your nose and your ear pierced is a sign of slavery, because in old times, similar to even some African history, when they used to capture somebody, they used to enslave them or keep them. We put handcuffs on nowadays. Well, it was very difficult to give so many people handcuffs or handcuff them. So what they used to do is pierce the nose, pierce the ear, and then make a line of girls. So imagine there's a line of girls here, and they'll get one thread, and they'll put the thread through the ear and thread through the nose, and next person through the ear and the nose. So what would happen if a girl tries to escape? What would happen? You would rip your ear and you would rip your nose as well. And not just you would harm other people which are behind and in front of you as well. So you're not going to really be trying to get away. So that's the tradition of the piercing the nose and the ear, which coincides that obviously Amritari Bibiya wearing kopi and body and the ears as well, which is kind of disturbing. But March Kirpa Karan Pala Karan, that people can recognize, true death. So that's what the Khalsa is to do. And when every time they would free the girls, the girls used to embrace the Khalsa. They used to be glad the Khalsa's come. They would fear other men, but not the Khalsa. They would not fear the Sikhs. Because when they would come, they would call them Benji, they would call them BPG. And they would take them to their respective homes. Each woman they would take to their house, whether a Hindu lady, even a Muslim lady, they would take them to their homes. And they say, we make sure that you got to your family safely. And seeing this character, people used to say that we can leave our doors open. And we got no fear because the Khalsa is nearby. Or even if a Singh comes to our house, we have no fear that the Khalsa. And Khan sometimes makes me think, well, Ajkal is kind of, worried that Bane Wale, how much people are wearing Bana and doing so many wrong things. And would that apply in today's time? That people can leave their homes empty, or can leave their own homes open to the Khalsa, anyone who's dressed as a Khalsa, and you welcome them. And they felt safe around the Khalsa. Nader Shah, he got so fed up that he went to, who are these people who are taking my women and taking my, plundered wealth away from me? And then he asked, Nader Shah asked Zakaria Khan, he goes, who are these people? And then, I think I might have the quote of, in summary. He said that these people are the Sikhs. And he goes, who are the Sikhs? And then he explained they are followers of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And then he goes, where do they live? And he goes, they live on their horses, they sleep on their horses, they've got no place, they've got no permanent residence. And they get their, and why do not fear death? Why don't they fear death? And they said because they get their power from the Amritsar. And Amritsar, there's a holy nectar tank there, and they take a dip there, and even though we've surrounded it, when they come in the morning and they go and no one notices them, and they get this power from what they call Amrit. And he goes that when they drink this Amrit, then they become immortal. And he goes that why don't you just fill up that nectar? Why don't you fill up the pool? They also fill up and defile the Amrit Sarovar. Fill it up with some blood or mitti, and so what? Then their power's gone. And then he goes, no, but their Amrit gets made with Vani through their prayers. And he goes, so why don't you burn their holy scriptures? And he goes, but they've memorized their scriptures. Even if you burn them, they've memorized it. And wherever there's water and there's their scriptures, they can make Amrit and then they become immortal. And then Nader Shah said to Zakka, one day these people will rule this land. It's not far in the future that these people will rule. Now in 1739, there's a story of Bhai Garja Singh Bhota Singh. Anyone heard of them? Put your hand up if you heard of Bhai Garja Singh Bhota Singh. One of the Benjis, they're just YouTube Benji and free Benji. Oh, and at the back as well. Kind of worrying this. Really, really worrying that you are adults, you are adults, and you don't know who Bhai Garja Singh Bhota Singh is. It's a bit like when I went to one camp and I asked about Bhai Taru Singh, and they didn't have heard of Bhai Taru Singh. And they're like 15-year-olds, and get the Bhai Taru Singh on it. I think there's a camp in Europe, and you don't know who Bhai Taru Singh is. It's really worrying that you are going to be taking the path in the future, and you don't know of your heroes. Those who have sacrificed their lives for your today, you don't know who they are. That's, I think, is a huge crime. Huge crime. That you do not know who people who died for your today. In schools in England, we have to learn about the World War I and World War II. And we're always told that we need to, every year, every school will study that. And people are boring. Every year. Since, the 90s, we've been studying World War I, World War II, Nazi Germany, this, that, the other. What's the point? Boring? No. And people saying, oh, every time on the TV channels, they're always mentioning, our, forefathers who went to and fought against the Nazis to free Europe and free Britain. Because why? They appreciate that they gave up their today for our tomorrow, for our future. So they give up their tomorrow for our today. They give up whatever they had for our future. And it's kind of sad that we don't know about our shaheeds, or we don't know about our history. And who's going to tell you? No one's in a mosque is going to tell you who you are. No one in a Christian church is going to tell you. No one at schools, Sikhi school or something. They're not going to tell you about Sikh history in a normal school, are they? So it's really important for you to get some books. Don't be lazy and find out who you are. And perhaps then we might realize, where we should be heading in our own Jeevan. We look at their Jeevans as well. By Garja Singh and Bhutta Singh, there were two Singhs, and the Singhs, they had to be, they were living in jungles and deserts because there was a price on the Sikhs' heads. The Sikhs had to be living in hideouts. They were behind some bush and they were Tanatan Sahib, and they were just camping out in some bushes. And two people went past and they stood there and they were having a conversation. By Garja Singh, Bhutta Singh, they're hiding behind some leaves. They're taking refuge there. They're just camping out in between the trees. And the two Muslims don't realize that there's Sikhs there, there's some Singhs there. And they're talking and they go, oh, I've heard that all the Sikh have been killed. Sare Sikh mar gaya. That now the authorities, anyone who believes in Guru Nanak, the whole religion has been wiped out. Koi Sikh jinda nahi chhadiya. And he goes, really? And they're having this conversation. And when Bhai Garja Singh and Bhutta Singh overhear this conversation, or what happens? People said they knew the Sakhi, what happens? When you go deeper, do you remember? Anyone else? What happens when they overheard the conversation? And
They talked amongst themselves.
And
they said they were going to show the Khalsa still around.
yeah, they said, no, we're going to tell them the Khalsa are still alive and the Sikhs are still alive and our nation is not dead. They come out and they show themselves to these two people. There's a price in the head of Sikhs, but they don't care. They come out and they said, no, you're wrong. They grabbed these two people and said, we want to come to tell you that the Sikhs are still alive. And once they've told them that, they released these two people. The innocent people, so they released them. They then decide to go on this bridge. They go and stand on this bridge, going towards Amritsar, and every person who goes past them, they got a Nishan Sahib in their hand, one Nishan Sahib, and they got a stick or like a club in their hand, a wooden club. And every person who's going past, they say, you must pay Khalsa tax. This is Khalsa Raj, and you must pay tax. Every horse going past, every cart going past, anyone traveling, they're paying tax. And people are happily just giving the money. They thought it was a tax, and they're just like any normal tax, they were giving the tax the money. When the message got out, eventually they were standing there for some time, and the news spread that the Sikhs are still alive. And when this news reached Zakaria Khan, he was so shocked. And the Khalsa, by Garja Singh Bhutta Singh, sent a letter to Zakaria Khan. He said, tell poor Khan that Baba Bhutta Singh is ruling the state with his heavy stick. He charges 1 nickel for a cart load and a penny for a donkey load. And he said this. Can you imagine? It's not chori karna. He's really upfront about it. No, we tell them that we're here. 2 Singhs, just 2 good Sikhs. Didn't we say we're not many in number? 2 good Sikhs standing in the middle of a city and saying, oh, this is Khalsa Raj, taking tax, and even to have the himmat to send a letter saying, we are here and this week we're charging people tax. Then few days later, the army comes in hundreds and then they slaughter them, and they try to fight with just a wooden stick which Babaji had. And through that Sakhi, you just showed me, I thought, wow, the Khalsa spirit is so indestructible that you can kill us, but you can't kill our spirit. So it reminds me of Martin Luther King sometimes, that you can do whatever you want to, but you can't take away our freedom. Inside you can't take away our spirit. The spirit of freedom, you can't take away that from us. I think, wow, our forefathers, they had some guts. Some guts what they did. They had so much bharosa and guru that for them all it mattered was that the world should know that Sikhi is alive. And Sikhi is not alive by having loads of numbers of people who claim to be Sikh. Sikhi is alive because truly they showed Sikhi. They showed that Sikhi is of the spirit, Sikhi is of something which cannot be killed off. Moving on with time, there was Diwan or a courtier of the Lahore Dabar of Zakriya Khan and of later on the Yahya Khan. His name was called Lakhpat Rai. Anybody heard of Lakhpat Rai? Hands up. Hands up if you heard of Lakhpat Rai. Hands up. Okay, again, not many people. Quite shocking considering the things Lakhpat Rai and his brother Jaspat Rai did to the Sikhs. Hopefully, Guru Kirpa you pay attention and you do your own research when you go home as well. Lakhpat Rai, he was in charge when everybody know the story how Shaheed Bhai Manvir Singh became Shaheed. Anyone know why and how Bhai Manvir Singh became Shaheed? Another how in what circumstances was he captured? Vasaki was the one.
But he needed permission when he
Shumai is Diwali. Diwali the program see. Okay, Hanji. So he seeked.
he needed to get permission.
Hanji.
So when they asked for a tax,
Yep.
something like that.
Hanji say.
But then they found out that they were going to attack.
Hanji.
The Sikhs at that point when they were having the festivities.
Hanji.
And then after about then they were going to cancel it. And then when they canceled, they still wanted a tax.
Yep.
So that's in Mahanamani, right? So
Yeah.
that's
And spot on BG what he said. That the Sikhs were going to celebrate Diwali at Amritsar, Diwali Sea. And all the Sikhs were going to gather at Harmandir Sahib, gather at Amritsar. And they actually seek permission to have a gathering at Amritsar from the government. So they were asked to come for that they're going to get this gathering, and they said that there's a tax to pay. So they said, yeah, we'll pay that tax and we'll have our gathering, because things went too bad and they thought we'd get together. And then Lakhpat Rai and a few other people who were the Hindus and Muslims, they conspired and told Zakriya Khan, this is an ideal opportunity for you to get rid of these Sikhs for once and for all. They will all come together at Amritsar and just slaughter them all there. Do a bloodbath there. Saga Marde when they were at Amritsar. And they sowed these ideas into his mind. And then, so they decided these plans, but there were some nice people, Korama, and a few other people who had pyar for the Guru Khan. They also had faith in Guru Nanak Dev Ji as well. Even though they weren't outwardly Sikhs, but inside they had allegiance to Sikhs as well. And Korama said, no, this is not right. And when he realized that they're going to actually attack this Harmandir Sahib, they decided to tell the Khalsa. Korama told Shaheed Bhai Manvir Singh that, look, do not get the Sikhs together, because when you come together, they're going to plan to slaughter all of you here. The Sikhs will be wiped out. So Bhai Manvir Singh sends letters back out to the Sangat. About Punjab, he tells us, but fairly, some people didn't get the message in time, so those Sangat arrived to Harmandir Sahib. And when they came, Lakhpat Rai came with the army and they massacred everybody who was at Harmandir Sahib there. And they arrested Bhai Manvir Singh and other Guru Sikhs with them, they were arrested as well. It wasn't Bhai Manvir Singh. They were arrested and they were asked to pay for the tax of the gathering. And then Bhai Manvir Singh said, but you, like BG said, that the program was cancelled because you are traitors, you went against your own word, you betrayed us. And they were no. And they're either that, or you face a punishment, or that, or you can seek forgiveness for accepting Islam, or the other option is death. And throughout whole history, the Guru Sikhs chose death. And Bhai Manvir Singh was then cut, band, each and every limb was cut. Each bone was cut. And Babaji never gave the Asa of Barney. So that was who Lakhpat Rai was. He was in charge of the force which went to the Darbars, and he's the one who arrested Bhai Manvir Singh as well. Then he commanded a Sikh hunting force for Zakriya Khan as well. He went on, took an army, and he was looking for Sikhs, and he would round up the Sikhs and kill them. When the Sikhs would be brought together, they would be tortured in various ways. Another point is Veer Jamal went to Guru Nanak Academy on Saturday, the Rana Friday, and Veerji was mentioning this, a similar thing which I've got written here, which I will mention now. That anyone who uttered the word Guru, their belly was ripped apart. There's a book called Sikh History from Persian Sources. Sikh History from Persian Sources is published by Aligarh University in Iran. Irfan Habib and I forgot the Irfan Habib and there's something Gariwal. They're the people who are the authors, who are the editors of the book. Therefore, all the manuscripts, the diaries, the biographies, the memoirs of the Mughals of the time of the Guru Nanak Dev Ji, all the way up to Baba Banda Singh Bahadur and beyond, how much they can get together. And they've translated that into English and they've made a book. I've got my book from Amazon, you can get from the internet. And in that book, I was reading that book, Sikh History of Persian Sources. It's written by Musliman. Musliman ki kitab hai. It's written by the people who were in positions at that time. And they write that anyone who uttered the word Guru, anyone if you heard the word Guru, their belly would be ripped apart. And even, you know, the word we mentioned is sugar. There is the brown sugar, which called gur, yeah? They would get that. Anyone who say even that, they'd be considered saying that they're doing Guru the job. So you know when you see Gur Sikhs and Gur Sikhs are doing a Vyas, and you can hear the sound Gur, the vibration of Guru as well. And some Gur Sikhs, you know, marking by their Simons going anyway, and you can hear the vibration of Guru. Imagine that. Anyone who ever hears you just say Guru, like that, you would basically say that's a Sikh, and their belly would be ripped apart. That was the punishment for saying Guru. Then what happens is, Jaspat Rai was killed in 1746. Gurdwara Huri Sahib, what happened is that Jaspat Rai, he comes there with his force. The Sikhs are camping out in the field. They are not so. They're camping out in the field and they said, move. The Sikhs said that we'll move, don't worry about that. And then he made a derogatory remark and he said, if you're not going to move, we're going to cut your hair with scissors and they're going to make them into ropes and send them to Lahore. They're going to cut your hair, make them into ropes and send them to Lahore. Move. And when the Gur Sikhs heard this, they thought, who is them? Who are they to not insult an individual, but to insult Guru Sikhi, to insult peers? Who are they to say that? And so they had a skirmish there. There was a small battle took place. And in that battle, Jaspat Rai, who was sitting on an elephant, Gur Sikh, I forgot the name, the Gur Sikh went up and he cut off his head, and there was a battle there, and all the Gur Sikhs there were Shaheed, obviously. When his brother, Lakpat Rai Jaspat Rai heard that his brother's being killed, Lakpat Rai, this guy got killed. This picture showing Jaspat Rai. He wanted revenge. He took off his dastar. This picture showing that he takes off his dastar and he says, a Khatri called Nanak started the Sikh religion. Khatri sounds it, you see? No, you don't understand Khatri. Khatri is that in Indian Sahi or Hindu Sahi, there's 4 divisions of people. The Brahmins, the Khatris, the Vaishya and the Shudra. The Brahmins and the priests, the Khatri were the warriors, which eventually became shopkeepers or business people. And then you had the skilled people, and then you have the unskilled workers. Okay, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji's family, his Pashokar, biologically, was of Khatris. So he was from a Khatri background as well. He said one Khatri called Nanak started the Sikh religion, and one Khatri will destroy the religion as well. And he took off his dastar, he took off his pag and said that, I'm not going to put my pag on my head. I have killed every single Sikh in this world. Then I'll put my pag back on my head. That's how determined he became to take revenge for his brother's death. And then the Shota Kalukara happened. And the Shota Kalukara, I think Shota Kalukara in 1746, between 10 to 15,000 Sikhs were killed. The Sikhs, there was a big army went and chased the Sikhs. And the Sikhs, they had nowhere to go. On one side there was a river, the other side there was a Pahari Alabka. So when they went towards the river, some Gur Sikhs tried to go to the river and they got washed away. They realized the river current was too much and that women and children, if they try to go through the river to get refuge, they're going to die. So then they tried climbing up the hills. And when they tried climbing up the hills, what happened? Anyone guess what happened? The people who lived on the hills, the Hindus which lived on the hills, the kingdoms there, They got boulders and rocks and started throwing rocks towards the Khalsa, started throwing rocks towards the Sikhs that you're not allowed to come here. And they closed their doors, they closed their towns and cities' doors to the Khalsa. Because they knew if the Sikhs come here, then it means bad news for us, we're going to be killed as well. So they started throwing rocks towards the Khalsa, so they couldn't even go up the hills. And then just 10 to 15,000 Sikhs died in one day. And their bellies were ripped open. This is, again, from what one historian writes about this. Because the Khalsa, the Sikh, their bellies were ripped open, their brains were removed, and iron pegs were stuck into the head. All these things were done for psychological purposes, that people should have so much fear that they want to become a Sikh. And perhaps that's why we have so many Putte Sikhs, I would probably assume. So many people do so many dodgy things and get the way but because perhaps being a Sikh in easy times, there's no fear of death, no one this. But at that time, who would become a Sikh? Bellies ripped open, brains removed, iron pegs stuck in your heads. Always Sikh banuga jina Vilyas Prosan Guru. The person goes, actually, मैं बाना पाके या मैं flirt भी करना पूरी तरह हूँ, मैं गुंडे ना flirt भी करना. You wouldn't get those people doing it. Those people would cut corners. Oh man, I'm going to be shakna for first. Man, I'm going to cut my eyebrows. I'll do laser and this, that, and take shortcuts. No. Maaf karna. Only those became the pura full side from Maharaj. And there's one Sakhi. I'm going to apply Mansha Singh. Do you know we say Sri Amar Sahib the Ashna in Ardas? We say. And one thing is, doing the Pantik Ardas is very important. Pantik Ardas is the Ardas you get in Nityanim today. After there's about Tidivar, when we mention the Guru Sahib's names, after that we go Panch Pyare, Char Sahib, then we talk about Jinnah Singh or Singyane, we got Panch Tak, then we talk about Sabat Khalsa the Ardas Kiya, then we talk about Sikhanu Sikhi Dan, Kes Dan, Rehat Dan, Vabek Dan, Vasadan, Prosadan. Dana Sardar Naam Sri Amar Sadishna. We must do this Ardas in our morning Nityanim, after doing a Panjabharani Nityanim, and after doing Raya Rastafar. It's Juri Adovai Ardas Kali. Anyone know why we must do this Pantik Ardas? Ardas can be any form. You can nobody say Ardas Karsina. You can just say, why do Tera Shukra? Oh, yeah, Ardas, yeah. But why do we need to do this Pantik Ardas? The Pant is written in Kuda history in there. Kanji, why do you think we need to do that Ardas? There's no right or wrong answer. Why do you think? Can you guess? Remember what? Remember the sheets. We have a collective identity, and every day we're reminding ourselves of our identity. And you're reminding yourself, and you can seek strength from that. Sri Amar Sahib Ishnan. Inne menge si ishnan karna. Inna is so precious, it was so costly to do ishnan at Amritsar. No one was allowed to enter Harmandir Sahib. No one was allowed to take ishnan. No one was allowed to do matha tek. Bhai Manvir Singh, in 1743, he goes there and he goes to have Darshan Maharaj and he lights a jot there. By lighting a jot, only koi banda, if someone's at home, how do you know if someone's in a house? The light's on, right? You put the light on. Batti jagad there. Batti nahi jagdi, when there's no lights, you think koi banda rehta nahi. True, yeah? If there's all dark area, ghar vich nera hove, banda kane to koi rehta nahi. But utte sada Guru Ramdas da ghar hai, and that's why there's always a jot there as a form that this is a living place. The Khalsa is here, and the Maharaj is always here. So, Bhai Manvir Singh went there to light the jot, and good Sikhs would do this. So go to Harmandir Sahib and light the jot, and the price they paid, Bhai Manvir Singh, when he's going back to cross the Sarovar to light the jot, he was captured and he was slaughtered. This is how much pyar, sattar, even though they knew they might die, but that's so much pyar to Ishnan in the Amrit Sarovar, there's so much pyar that no, it's Guru Ramdas' house, it's Maharaj's house, it's Sara Jagdi Chaudhry, our Guru's house is forever alive. And to show the Khalsa is alive, the Sikh is alive, they would light the jot. We'll move on now. Sardar Jassa Singh Ahluwalia. So, anyone heard of Sardar Jassa Singh Ahluwalia? Hands up. Okay. Still seems like few people haven't. Okay, more people have. That's good. But again, I'm asking this so we have a bit of a reality check as we go and go. If I don't know, okay, perhaps I do need to know. Because if you don't know, ask Bibi as well. I was really impressed with Benji, Bibi's remarks yesterday. So much spirit, and I said to myself the same thing. That how nice that we had mothers of the future with that spirit when you're standing up for Sikhi and you've got that Sikhi spirit within you. But no point having the spirit and you've got nothing to give to your children. When you become mothers, who is going to tell them the Sakhis? Who is going to tell them Bari? It's no good if you can't read part yourself or you're structuring when you're doing part because you've been used to reading English instead. When you yourselves know something, you've done the homework, you've done the reading up, then you can pass on this knowledge onto your children as well. Sardar Jassa Singh Ahluwalia, he was an orphan, he had no mum and dad. His mum and dad died when he was young. And he became the successor of Nawab Kapoor Singh. Remember Nawab Kapoor Singh, he was given like a Jagirdar, he was made in charge of a land. And he was made given that position afterwards, after Nawab Kapoor Singh. And it shows that even though he was an orphan, he had no family in a biological sense. He didn't have a mom, dad. All he had was a Sangha. But because he had gun in him, because he Maharaj blessed some gun, some virtue, some qualities within him, he developed himself through Bani, Naam. As Bhai Sahib saying, he became in Chardi Kala, and you can say that he recognized his purpose and meaning. And so because of that, he obtained such a high position. And Seva is something which you are blessed with. These positions are something you're blessed with. I was telling Virji, someone said to me, oh, Faji, no one invites me to camps, no one invites me to do classes, this, that, the other. The mere mantra, the seva is not your right. You say, oh, it's my hak to be a group leader, it's my hak that I want to do seva and darbasa. It's a blessing. And you have to do seva, and only when Mara's mother and blessings, we are given this seva. All of us are blessed when we do some seva. It's not because we are worthy or what's our right. Maharaj is another, he gives us that. So he becomes Dal Khalsa leader in 1760 when Dal Khalsa is in charge of all the 11 missiles. Ahmad Shah Abdali. Ahmad Shah Abdali, anybody heard of him? Also known as Ahmad Shah Durrani as well. Anyone know which country is from? Faisal, which country? Afghanistan. So Nader Shah was from which country, Benji? You remember? No? Haji? Iran, okay. Oh, Iran to see. Ahmad Shah Abdali, also known as Ahmad Shah Durrani, he is from Afghanistan. He invaded Mughal India 8 times. But every time he attacked, he would just attack, loot, plunder, and then he'd go back to it. He never actually attacked for the purpose of staying in India. He would just attack, plunder what he wanted, taking the girls, taking the wealth, and then cause some havoc and then come back. And to show his might, I remember watching a documentary and they're talking about Ahmad Shah Abdali. It was an Indian history documentary on I think the Discovery Channel. And they're talking about how Ahmad Shah Abdali, he had an army of 30,000 and Lahore, they had an army of 70,000. And he had so much confidence in himself, he had so much spirit, Ahmad Shah Abdali, that he went full swing ahead and attacked Lahore, even though knowing they got more than double his army. And when he went there, he slaughtered Lahore. He actually slaughtered it. And then in 12th January in 1738, he frees Lajpat Rai and Moman Khan. So Lajpat Rai, the one who's in charge of Shotakal Lukara, the one whose brother Jaspat Rai had been killed because he had insulted the Sikhs, and the same Lajpat Rai who arrested Bhai Manvir Singh and was responsible part of his Shahidi, he's released now. And again, he's been bothered by the Sikhs. Ahmad Shah Abdali as well, similar to Nader Shah, has been really bothered by the Sikhs. that the Sikhs are coming and they're attacking his booty, when they're taking the girls and they're taking the treasures back to Afghanistan, and they're taking the slave girls to Basra, in Iraq, that these things are coming and they're attacking and they're freeing these girls. And he became really, really annoyed with the Sikhs, to such a point that he appointed his son, Timur Shah, governor of Lahore, to execute the Sikhs. And he said that, I will not rest till you've killed all the Sikhs in the world. And one thing is, I was reading up, that Ahmad Shah Abdali declared 3 times, Misare Sikh Marat Dunya de Vich. Misare Sikh Marat Dunya de Vich. 3 times Ahmad Shah Abdali declared, I've killed every single Sikh who believes in Guru Nanak. Anyone who believes in Nanak, I've killed them. And think about what's happened. Marne wale kitte hai? Where are these people? Where are those Afghans who came and came to execute the Sikhs? Where are the Mughals? Oh, chal gaya. Mar di kirpa Nishan Sahib Chode Canada, Nishan Sahib Chode England, Nishan Sahib Africa, everywhere go the Nishan Sahib Chode, the Khalsa flags flying there. It's amazing how Guru's kirpa, isn't it? Then you realize the Sikhi, it belongs to Guru Maharaj. Why Guru Ji ka Khalsa, why Guru Ji ki Fateh? The Khalsa belongs to Vaheguru, and no victory belongs to Vaheguru. What belongs to Vaheguru? That can never be destroyed. Coming towards the end now. What happened in 1757? This is during the time of Timur Shah. The Abdali gets his son to destroy the Gurdwara. Any Gurdwara which they are, he must destroy them. And Harmandir Sahib is destroyed as well. Harmandir Sahib, dead cows, and cows are slaughtered and they're put into the Sarovar. The Sarovar is filled with blood, urine, and even mitti. When Baba Deep Singh gets this news, Baba Ji is in Sabha di Talwandi in South Punjab, which is now called Dandama Sahib. But Baba Ji receives this news. He said that Asi Diwali utte manauni hai. This year, Amritsar will be celebrated in Amritsar. And Baba Ji, this Ardas as well, March. Every time when the Sikhs do anything, they always do Ardas. Ardas karke hamesha koi karj karte hai. And I remember at Khalsa Camp a few years ago, someone asked about divorce. Kande Khalsa Sikh Amritari divorce karte hai, theek hai divorce karna, koi swal da nasi. I remember Gyani Kulvinder Singh gave an answer, and he said that it's such Ardas is such a big thing, Ardas. When you do Ardas on Guru Pasha, that Ardas is such a huge thing. Ardas ki tusi. The Khalsa, when they did Ardas for something, they said Ardas kar li. Even though I remember Kali Fulla Singh once, they did Ardas and they said, but Babaji is not right to attack during Maharaj Jeet's time. It's not appropriate to attack. It's, they're going to outnumber us, and the odds are not right. It's not right to attack. But Baba Ji said, no, Ardas kar liya. Ardas has been done, so we must do it. And because there's such bharosa on Ardas, Guru Kala Bartai, Guru showed his power, and the Khalsa won. And Gandhi Ji was saying that, as Ardas, when you get married, when you go in front of Pasha, even the Kurmai di Ardas, or Rishta di Ardas, Mangni di Ardas hundi hai. Can they sometimes nahi gal bandi na? For certain reasons, your rishta falls through. And it's amazing, Gandhi Ji says, if that happens, you have to go in front of Panch Pyare and tell them that Ardas kiti si, but the Ardas can't be fulfilled, and for so and so reasons. That's how much satkar, so much respect you have for Ardas. And Baba Deep Singh did Ardas, utte jaake wo azad karna, to the end, I'm going to reach Amritsar, I'm going to reach Harmandir Sahib. And when Baba Ji, he takes 5,000, by the time he goes to Tarun Sahib, there's 5,000 Singhs, and it battles against 26,000 Afghans. The Musliman, the Afghans, 26,000 against 5,000 Guru Di Khalsa. And Atal Khan and Baba Ji, when they were in battle, they ended up cutting one another's head at the same time, and Atal Khan's head came off at the same time. Baba Deep Singh's head came off as well. And someone, I remember, the person says, Baba Deep Singh these kathabajas, it's all made up. He goes, what really happened is Baba Deep Singh's head got just cut here in the throat, in the neck he got cut. So Baba Deep Singh had to hold his head like this. Imagine you got cut there, you have to hold your head to make sure that your head isn't, it's been half cut. I was thinking, gosh, these guys must be really, really stupid. If someone got a blade and cut half of your throat, are you supposed to die? Or can you still walk around? Oh yeah, I'm still just got a bit of cut here, but alright, no problem, it's alright, no problem. कितने बेवकूफ बंदे just because why? They have got no कला गुरबानी शायद आप मुर्तब नहीं उठते आप सिमरन नहीं करते आप they have got no प्रोत्साहन गुरु and they come then there's some similar to what I always share the story that my dad's Taya ji, so Baba ji like Siane Buzurg si in my dad said that for Pendajara and my dad would read newspaper and he would be saying koi akhbar sunade sanu ki likhiya hai wo matlab simple pindu je jat si and they like just oh they didn't share nahi kadi gaye pend ji re kai imagine 10 साल पहले just go खेता च काम करके कदी बाहर नहीं गए you would even go to the pen bus khute rehna hai and when they said akhbar suna my dad said that oh America nahi wo chand tak pahunch gaya America has taken rocket airship and they've gone to the moon. There's been moon landing. And my Baba ji was hasna kabe my dad's Baba goes, ek kada ho tu ta bevkoof idhar cheezaं manda you shouldn't believe everything you read in the newspaper. Ek kada ho sakda because he was right because he was so old he had never seen a tractor in his life. Just but the tractor kadi dekhya nahi akha de naal. Imagine someone's gone to the moon or the dur di gall hai na. So he was right in his own word. So these people who believe that Baba Deep Singh's cell never came out, that my Mati Das never got sown alive, then why? Because in the only other world, because they haven't experienced these things or they haven't reached that level, then they think everybody must be like them. Just as Baba Ji said that, how can someone reach the moon? If you never see a car, so he's right, it's only a small bubble world. And I said to the Bhai Sahib, Uncle Ji saying this, I said, Maaf karna. You say that banda kar nahi sakda said leke you can't pick up and he said it's impossible. He said it's impossible. Mecca, is it possible for someone to be boiled, for someone to be stoned, then for the same person to be kept hungry and thirsty, that same person then to be put into a hot iron plate, for hot sand to be poured over and then shackled and thrown into a river and still be in Chardi Kala and not give up? Guru Arjan Dev Ji ne ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ and so that makes sense. You're picking and choosing. Is it possible for someone to be sown alive and be reciting Japji Sahib Path? No. And then even go further on in history, Bhai Gurdev Singh Debbu, he was a modern Jajaru Singh. In 1986, I never know how he was made shaheed. You know about that? But again, there's many things you could read on the internet as well. Never forget 84, starting story of the Shaheed Singhs. Bhai Gurdev Singh Debbu, he was arrested. I met their son and brother. They live in Germany. Bhai Sahib was arrested and they tried to get Bhai Sahib's name. They they found out his name. Then they could find out which people he's associated with and they could capture his friends, his companions. So it's really crucial that Bhai Sahib didn't let the police know his name. And he kept strong, he didn't reveal his name. And in front of his 7-year-old son, in front of his sister, and in front of his brother, they fried Bhai Sahib. In a big day. They boiled Bhai Sahib in frying fat. In front of his 7-year-old son, in front of his sister, and in front of his brother. And he was reciting Japji Sahib Path. Isn't that impossible? That's impossible, isn't it? In a worldly sense, it's impossible. But with Guru's Kirpa, the impossible becomes possible. With Naam and Bani, the impossible becomes possible. So, mere varge bas chubbi maar diya, bas thoda jaya attempt on main aaj kehna si baithe de naam de aaj mere maar to hor kitte ghumda si dasna nahi kitte ghumda si. My mind is somewhere else. But jehde bande asli oh shaar maar ke naam japde a, shaar maar ke Bani japde a, they basically die within naam, they die within Bani. Those people, the impossible becomes possible. So when Babaji's head gets chopped up, Babaji picks it up and then he starts fighting, and then eventually he comes to Harmandir Sahib, and there his head's placed, they give their swas. Then Baddu Ka Lokara happens. In 1762, 5th February, Ahmad Shah Abdali, they did a lightning march. A lightning march was because they crossed 110 miles and they crossed 2 rivers in 2 days. An army, which is a huge army, there must be in hundreds of thousands, they crossed 110 miles and 2 rivers in 2 days, and that's what's called lightning march. Because Ahmad Shah Abdali became so sick and tired of the Sikhs that he was so eager to get rid of the Sikhs one for all. And in this Kallukara, we call it Badda Kallukara. So this would be the greater Holocaust, and that would be called the smaller Holocaust. Shota Kallukara, the smaller Holocaust. Badda Kallukara, the bigger Holocaust, the greater Holocaust. And in here, 40,000 Sikhs died. 41 in one day, 40,000 Sikhs were slaughtered. And that was half of the Panth. Half of the Panth was killed off. Half of the Sikh religion, half of the Sikh nation was killed off in one day. So you can imagine what impact that had on the psyche of the Punjabis. And can you imagine if you see that half of all of your Sangat, half of all of your people who are around you have just perished in front of you, slaughtered in front of you? What effect would that have on your mind? But there's Guru Sikhs who read accounts. There's Guru Sikhs who are always in Chardi Kala, and they said, no, the cream has survived. They would say the cream has survived. The Chardi Kala people have survived. Guru di Khushi hai. They never saw Jina Pana Marna, Hukam Marna, as Dr. G. Pai Sahib mentioned. Truly on Hukam Marni Adni Theek kiya. And one thing is, I was reading in the book Dr. Sangat Singh, he goes, they would rather die than live as slaves. The Khalsa would rather die than live as slaves. So for them, it meant nothing in terms of this. Marke, koi gal nahi. Phir Guru di khushiyan, shaheed ho gaye Guru di khushiyan. Je lar gaye to wo jit gaye, phir Guru di khushiyan. But they won't live as slaves. And it sometimes makes me wonder, are we living as slaves when we're enslaved by Facebook or enslaved by, and I say, mari cheeja nahi. But you never know, buddhi becomes slave, that achadi buddhi prisht ho jandi hai. Samjh aandi hai buddhi prisht. Buddhi prisht ki hundi hai. Buddhi prisht, when your own thinking, your morals, your zamir, your consciousness, it all just goes. You become enslaved, है ना? Mari gal nahi, ये चीज़ें बरतनियाँ चाहिए. But buddhi prisht होती है when you do these things and you give your gursikh your soul. इधर एग्जांपल आंदे हैं करपाना वाले kissing. कोई कह कि करात कितनी नहीं ऐसी. Someone said to me, I've done no karat. I said, you should go pesh. No, I've done nothing wrong. That's it, it's a normal appreciation. मैं रब ने कोड अपने सारे कोड जाके लाट गए दिंदे हैं रब जान. गुरु जानता है. They become enslaved, है ना? बुद्धि भ्रष्ट हो गया ना दी. नित्यनेम छाड़ देता. Is not living as a slave. जो नित्यनेम छाड़ देता. एक मुंडे ने अमर शक्ति हम गुरुद्वारे बैठा सी. और मैं उन्हें कहा नमा अमर शक्ति किया. ओदा उच्ची रुआ कोई दा उच्ची करना. मैं क्या वीर जी नित्यनेम कहता ठीक ही यार. And I said, oh, do you do Nityam Kardian? If but sometimes I don't get time. I go, why not? Because I have to go to college. मैं college जाने के लिए time नहीं मिलता पाठ करना, Nityam करना time नहीं मिलता. मैं कहा, do you get खांदे या do you eat, पाजी? कहते, what you mean? मैं कहा, तुझे खांदे या? कहते, yeah. I go, you got enough time to eat, but you got not enough time to do your Nityam? You go, busy दागे. मार के पढ़ना पांच प्यारा गिवन यू नाम तुसी नाम जपदे आ किस टाइम नहीं मिलता नाम जपण दा. Isn't that living as a slave? गुरु ने सब कुछ देख के भी सब तो बड़ी दा अमृत दे देता नाम ठीक है. Only मार के कृपा ना we can progress है ना. But we can do the bare basics. मेरे वर्ग the bare basics तो कर लो. Bare basics at least 5 बार नित्य नेम. That's all of the cars should be doing है ना. सारे all of us should be doing that. तो वो ही छाड़ देता. तो सिमरन कहना even 5 मिनट सिमरन नहीं तुसी कर सकते. Not enough time. Isn't that living as a slave? That's to me that is. But our forefathers, they said they'd rather die than live as slaves. On another, Baba Deep Singh, and this links into Baba Jarnail Singh Pindrawala as well. Because some people say, why was Baba Jarnail Singh Pindrawala Harmandir Sahib? Je utte na hunde ta attack nahi hona si. I don't know where people get these ideas from. You read up on history, you read it there that was a clan attacked anyway, they're planning to attack. And they would say, oh, why were they there with weapons and why did they make the battle happen there? And now listen to this account of history. This is from 1764, 1st December. Bhai Manvir Singh. So anyone heard of Bhai Manvir Singh? 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone else? 5, 6, 7. Okay, but let's imagine there might be a few people shy. 10 bande keh lo. Inne bande baithe sirf 10 bande ne Bhai Manvir Singh. Kaal tak de pichle paase gurdwara banya hai. There's a yadgar gurdwara of Bhai Manvir Singh and the Sheet Singhs. So it's really important to go to Amritsar because I didn't know myself. And researching, I found out, then March Kirpaji, I found out when I went last year in February, then I found out when I went on Darshan of just behind the Karthik Sahib, there's a Gurdwara Sahib made in their memory. So he took Amrit from Kalgidar Pasha in 1699, training of Gurbani and Part on a Gurmat Maryada from Sheet Bhai Manvir Singh, and he joined Shahidi Misl, and he had a really, really strong emphasis on Rayat and Naam, and that's when you read all these examples of the great Gursikhs. They were great because they had something great within them. There was something which made them great. And how did you become great? When you join with the great one. Karpur. When you join with a Karpur, he wants to make you fearless. Karpur is the one who makes you who you are. And because they had Naam and Bani and Red. Abdali's 7th invasion, remember how many invasions did you do in total? Anji? Can you get busy? 8 information under the surrounding here, the cards of the bar. 8th invasion, this is the 7th invasion. On the 7th war, they decide to destroy Harmandir Sahib. Harmandir Sahib had already been rebuilt twice. Remember, Timur Shah had destroyed Harmandir Sahib as well with cannons. There was a hukamnama given by the Khalsa, Sarvat Khalsa Katha hoya si. So the Singhs got together. Sarvat Khalsa, everybody gets together, and the Khalsa Faisla si. It was their collective decision of the Khalsa with taking the blessing of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj that everybody should evacuate. They now know that Ahmed Shah Abdali is going to come and destroy Harmandir Sahib. He's coming with a huge army. And now, for the sake of Sikhi, for our own survival, because if we all become shaheed there, then perhaps the Panth will not be able to survive because we need some people still alive so we can still carry on the message of Sikhi. If every single Sikh just dies here, then it's a big nuksan for the Panth. So the hukum was that we all must evacuate. Sorry, we must get out of here. And Sikhs, there were 30 Sikh, 30 Sikhs, and all can they see nahi jana. Bhai Manvir Singh, उन्होंने बेनती की थी माफ करना, but please give me permission to stay. The Khalsa. Khalsa said, no, we need to get out of here. We need the Khalsa alive so we can carry on the Khalsa message. We need future generations of the Khalsa as well. And Bhai Sahib, imagine 30 Gursikhs against 30,000. 30 Singh, 30 Singh, that they are the opposition army coming to slaughter them. Think of their mind, their mind. They don't fear a problem. The size is no problem because with their mind they have Guru's Kirpa. And Bhai Manvir Singh says, Sheikh Bhai Manvir Singh says, how can you imagine that they're going to come to Harmandir Sahib and no one's going to be here? They're going to come to destroy Harmandir Sahib and they're going to come and see Sare Sikh not together, they've gone away. We need someone to greet them. So one of the Swagat asked him, koi chahiye na? And he said that Bhai Sahib talked about him getting married. And he goes, please give me permission to get married. Aagya do ki mera vyah ho jaye. Vyah kinna karna si? Maut de naal, with death. Give me permission to get married to death. When the groom arrives, groom maut, yeah? Munde wale, groom, their death maut. When the groom arrives, these will be here to welcome them. And then the Khalsa gave 30 Singhs permission to stay there. And Pradhan Granth described how they dress up in shastras. Neela Bana, blue Bana, shastra paye, uche damale sajaye, and they're dressing up like it's a big wedding day. Can you imagine the big, do you remember the biyah hunda, you dress up, family dresses up. Everybody's dressing up and with all their kapre and with this chaya, they're getting married. And truly they were getting married, but to death. And they say that Baki the Sangat leaves. And when they come, the army, the Khalsa, they stand there. And going same thing, Baba Jarnail Singh, why is he there? Then if you say next we start saying Baba Gurbakh Singh, why is he there? And next you can imagine these type of Manum people saying, oh, we should not have that Gurdwara in the memory of these Sheet Singhs either. But these Guru the Khalsa, who are famous, and they said, no, it's our Guru's house and we need someone to welcome the people who are coming. And one of the Sheet, the Hasa Kashid, they happily embrace death. And that's really which me go, wow. So much spirit. And the ideology, someone quoted, ideology wins over war. Their minds won the battle. And Yani Sant Singh Maskeen kende usi katha de vich jittano vich har vich jit. Yani ji kende usi. Can you say what that means in English? Jittano vich har vich jit. Faisal. Dosto Jittan which har, in victory there is defeat, har with jit, and in defeat there is victory. Or by Subhekshing Sabas in Chanke the Chartana, in a worldly sense they've been defeated. Oh har gena, oh martano, they've been crushed and killed. But os har which jit they are, in that defeat there is victory. Why? You can crush our bones. You can kill us and chop us into pieces, we won't take away our spirit. We'll grow and grow in numbers. You can destroy our Mandir Sahib, but we'll rebuild it every time you destroy it. You can come 30,000 on you and we'll embrace death. You can kill us, but it doesn't matter because we'll be reborn again, we'll come back again. This is the ideology of the Khalsa, the Chadli Kala. Can you imagine मेरे बारे में think, oh my gosh, what's happening? And you'll be sweating and think, oh my gosh, सोचा तो है कि depression बंद हो the day that पूरा साल This is just coming towards the end because it ended with how the Khalsa, from someone being persecuted, from 3 generations of being killed and slaughtered, how they eventually became the rulers. From 3 generations of blood, massacres and slaughter, the Khalsa ended up being the rulers. In the 1760 missile system, I mentioned that before, so there are different groups. So there would be different groups and they were controlling things. And there were smaller groups that were doing guerrilla warfare. And eventually the missile system, they started taking over land. The missiles, they were like federations. They had certain things which they had to follow. One thing was Sarbat Khalsa. Sarbat Khalsa ki hunda hai Virji tusi dasso Virji Chakravarti Singh Manji what is Sarbat Khalsa? Sarbat Khalsa
Khalsa in total?
Khalsa in total, okay. As an institution was Sarbat Khalsa. What is the meaning? That's not the word. That was an institution of Sarbat Khalsa. Haji Penji.
All of the members of the Khalsa get together to make some sort of group.
Hanji. All the Khalsas come together, they collective to get together, and then they pass gurmatas. They pass matas, they pass resolutions in accordance to Guru's wishes, in accordance to Gurmat, in the Agwai, in the presence of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. And so these are the things that they used. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make a decision and just let's go with that. The Khalsa all get together in the presence of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, then they would pass a resolution. And that would be a Gurmat and everybody would abide by that. Depending, even if you agreed with or disagreed with, you would just abide because that's the decision of the Khalsa. Then they had a Rakhi principle that everywhere that they went, the people, the inhabitants had to pay a contribution to the Khalsa. And it was voluntary. So the community who lived there, the Khalsa would protect them as a voluntary Rakhi system where they would give money to the Khalsa. You need langar pani, you need other resources, so they would give money. And the missile leaders, the jathedars, had absolute control. So if someone's made a leader, whatever they said, they had to abide by that. But having said that, the power, the Sangat gave them that power. It's not that election out on the answer. So if the Sangat picks somebody and said, this person is a Gurmat character, he's got Naam, Bani, Rat, he lives in the fear and love of Guru Sahib, he's a good leader. And then everybody respect that, and that leader would work within the Panch Pyare system, 5, 6 would work together, and this, whatever decision the Jathedar makes, people would respect that. And the goals of the Khalsa had precedent over the goals of the missiles. So even though what happened is that the missiles became groups and they started conquering lands. So they started conquering, for example, Jalandhar, or someone might conquer Gurdaspur, and they were conquering these small areas, and it was expanding. And they started making some self-interest, people started having self-interest. But always the Khalsa's interest came first. You always put what your interests were to the side, and instead that always took precedent, that always was the main thing, what benefits the Khalsa. And if that means that my own interests have to be sacrificed, fair enough. And Akal Takht had the final word. But Akal Takht says, no one argued with that. What are the weaknesses in the missiles? Those infighting between them. You know, we say, oh, why are there these different Jathabandis? It's human nature to be tribalistic, I would say. It's human nature. But one thing we have to realize is, who's our tribe? Our Tara. Our Tara is a Satguru. That's the only group which we should know of, Satguru. And they became clans and tribes, and they start fighting amongst themselves. And in one, I have included on there, that at this time, after Shaheed Bhai Manvir Singh, there were no intellectuals. There was no one doing Khoj of Gurbani, no one was doing Prachar of Rahat, no one was doing Prachar of Naam. The Prachar had gone, the intellectuals had gone, the propagation of Tat Gurmat or pristine Gurmat had gone. And because of this, people started, their characters started diminishing and started fighting amongst one another, and there was a lot of infighting. But however, they survived. However, one thing which were the missiles, even though they had so many problems of infighting, they started attacking one another as well. There's one film I was going to show kids in Belgium. There's a cartoon for Maharaj and Ajit Singh. And then after I thought, actually, I don't want to show this film to the kids. The reason why I didn't show the film to the kids, because it showed that the Sikh are fighting Sikh. Khalsa is fighting Khalsa. As you can see, Sikh did the start, the hath nahi hoga. Aurangabad de Baba Ji si. And five big, five big. Baba Veer Singh, thank you, Khalsa. Baba Veer Singh Aurangabad. Veer Singh. Baba Veer Singh Aurangabad they see. And just an example about a true Khalsa. That didn't Naam, Bani, Rat, na Juriya, only they get that sense of how to live. Again, when you leave your nickname, you become loose and rare, and then other things, worldly things come to your mind, then your character goes down. But those who lived with Naam, Bani and Rat, their character, they call Baba Veer Singh Aurangabad. He found out that Dogre, in Maharaj Ajit Singh's time this is, they sent an army of Sikhs to kill Babaji. Because Babaji was pro-Khalsa, pro-Gurmat, and the Dogras, the traitors who wanted to rule the Raj, rule the kingdom, they found the Khalsa to be a threat. So they wanted to kill off Babaji and the Sikhs who were allied to him. Because Babaji was doing Prachar of Gurmat, and they were scared that perhaps the Khalsa would want to take over the Raj. And what they did is they sent an army of Sikhs. From Lahore Darbar, from Lahore, the Dogris, they sent an army of Sikhs of people of taken Amrit to attack Baba Veer Singh Aurangabad. They went to their dera, and Babaji told the Sangat to deg banao. They got the Sardukhraya and they started making deg. The Sangat came to Maharaj Charan, and they took Hukulnama, did their ardas, they did a part. And Babaji said, make langar and put langar and deg in each and every room of the building. In the fort of Aurangabad, deg, kara prasad and langar was put in every single room, and then a cannon was fired onto the dera. Dera means their camp. It was fired, and Babaji, if I remember correctly when I was reading, his leg was lost. And the Khalsa was attacked by this army of Sikhs sent from Lahore. And Babaji said no one should get out their weapons and attack them. I said, Tikal Babaji, they come to kill us. They said, oh Guru de Sikhya, oh Guru de Rupachya, asi Khalsa de Rupa di Biyad Dini Karni. We are not to disrespect the Rupa of the Khalsa. They have come in the form, they are in the image of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Sikh. Asi unna di Biyad Dini Karni. If that means that we die, theek hai. Koi war nahi unna te karna. Anyone jada case dara amr shakta to war nahi karna. And they all were slaughtered. There was a slaughterhouse there. Every Singhni in the Dera was slaughtered. And when they arrived, in each room they found langar was ready made for them. Each room had langar made for those who had come to kill them. And Deg was there. And that showed the Khalsa spirit of those who are truly with Naam Bani. Can you see the difference of those who are Naam Japte and Rat Rakhiya and those who perhaps become loose? So generally they survived and expanded because they generally did show oneness. This is before Maharaj Ranjit Singh's time. The missiles still had a kind of sense that we are still the Khalsa, and they still did unite on issues. And there's many sakya of that. This is my last thing, then I'm ending. Because I started off with persecution. 3 generations have passed, and I want to end with this, that those 3 generations who have been slaughtered, massacred, now they end up being the rulers. And not just the rulers of Punjab, not just the rulers of their own areas, but the rulers of India became. Jassa Singh Ahluwalia, they led the Sikhs with other Sardars, they led the Sikhs to Delhi in 1783, and they took over. Emperor Alam Shah II, he surrendered. Emperor Alam Shah, he surrendered himself and his army to the Khalsa. And when the Khalsa went in, so Maharaja Jassa Singh Ramgariya, the Maharaja, they gave him the padavi, they gave him the status of being the Maharaja. The Khalsa, Baba Sardar Bagel Singh and Sardar Singh Ahluwalia, they fought the battle, and then the Khalsa decided that to give the Sardar Jassa Singh Ramgariya the position of king. And Emperor Alam Shah paid tribute to the Sikhs. He goes, I want you to leave. And I can't remember, was it Kathavaji was someone saying that Emperor Alam Shah, the Khalsa got him to go to Amritsar and bow down to the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and then they brought him back to Delhi. That's the himmat of the Khalsa. The Emperor of India, they grabbed him and they took him to Amritsar for a sar chukaya in front of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And the Khalsa, they were asked, Benti ki please, that we will do anything for you, but please can you give our kingdom back to us? And then what happened is the Khalsa, they said that we want to build a Guru Kal. Do you know Rakabganj, Seesganj, Bangla Sahib Gurdwara, all these historical Gurdwaras in Delhi, they were built in this period. The Khalsa built all the places where the Guru's history is commemorated happened. They made Gurdwaras to commemorate that. And in 8 months they constructed all the Gurdwaras in Delhi. And then the Khalsa, they made an agreement with Alam Shah II that you're going to look after, that these Gurdwaras must be maintained. These Gurdwaras should be looked after. And they made other arrangements, and the Khalsa would leave. And when I was reading, there was one Hindu guy called Munshi Ram Diyal. Only benti kiti Khalsa, please don't leave Delhi. Khalsa on the Red Fort, you know, Lal Killa, Nishan Sahib, Kesi Nishan Sahib Chur Dasi. The Khalsa flag was hoisted there. And Munshi Ram Diyal did a benti, Khalsa, but to see Naja. Please, Khalsa ji, don't leave Delhi, don't leave. We need you to be the rulers of India. And the Khalsa gave the reply, said, we are being endowed with the kingdom and destiny by our Guru. Whenever we wished, we could capture Delhi. It won't be difficult for the Khalsa. Asi dobara aao, चित होवे तो दोबारा राज कर लोगे, वेलकम टू दिल्ली तक फतेह कर लोगे. But we're going to go now. Why? Because they are pro-San Guru. And Baru bin Japji Sahib, जिसने सिर्फ सलाहा नानक बादशाही बादशाह. The one who सच्ची जरा नाम ना जुड़ गया, गुरु की खुशियाँ ना जुड़ गया, Mark make the king whenever he wants. For those who truly live in Guru's hukum. Just to end with, because समाज ज़्यादा हो गया, apologies and thanks for saying very attentively. I know it's a very long time. Langar should come out, he's tired as well. He's really tiredness increases. But just to end with, after this, all of this, we're going to take something away. You know, we must start only that's far. Where do these people get their strength from? Where do they get their inspiration from? And we always sing about Pratana, Guru Sikhs, Pratana, Guru Sikhs. Now, hope on remembering it every day in our das as well, is Maharaj give me the strength to live like them. Maharaj, Kirpa Karo Pratana, Guru Sikh, Hadi Rani Bani, Sadhvi Kirpa Baksh Dev. Now, we live and keep those principles like they did as well. And truly, if we keep principles, we keep our nityanim, keep basic prayers at least, and try to have aspirations to do more, try to even have aspirations to get Guru Sahib's Khushiyan in anything we do in life. If we have ardas, which we have bharosa, we have faith in ardas, we have faith in Guru, you can see anything can happen. And one thing is this, all of these qurbaniyan, all of these sacrifices are made for us. It's really important that we realize the blood within our veins is their blood. And if we don't know who they are, we're going to become like the Kali. Is Mulka the America, Canada, England. Kali of walk, as what they walk, came hard to come over. Anji? Slaves, you know? Slaves, the other guys, Kali. And you know what the Kali? There's this film, Sky BC. And my dad was watching it, the man now it is so shocking and depressing. I couldn't watch it anymore. I said, "Dad, मेरा दिल दुखता है, मेरा अंदर रोना आता है, मैं तो देख नहीं होता." It's called Roots. ये देखते हैं, it's a TV film. हाँ जी? Series, yeah. It's a series called Roots. तो उसे देख सकते हैं. Apparently, they started showing this program in schools in America, but then they got banned. After the Kali, when they watch it, they realized, not many of the Kali didn't know what happened to their ancestors. When they realized the amount of abuse, rape, torture, which happened to their ancestors, and they did a lot of racism, the racism went high, and then that film got banned from being shown in schools. And that film was being shown on Sky, one of the channels. And they when they would speak their own language, they beat them. You're not to speak your language. Why was that? Benji, why were they not going to speak their language? Why do you think?
Get rid of their culture.
Hanji? Why are we not getting rid of their culture? Being poor slaves. Hanji?
Their solidarity, their community.
They forget who they are. Their identity should be of slave. When you go to prison, you have no identity. That's why your head is shaven off. When you go to prison, America, your head is shaven off. Because KSC se connected to एक बंदा सिंह गया as a arrested prisoner, and on cell round something, and they don't say, remember the incident? When you go to prison, they want to shave your head off. Why? Because you are no longer identity. You are just prisoner number. When you go to a mental home, you have your head shaven off, chitte kapre or orange kapre on you. Why? You are patient number. When the slaves came, they said, you are nobody, you are our slaves. You must forget your identity. You are who we tell you are. So when they speak their language, even in the 60s, in England, my mum, when she went to school, my mum came to England when she was about 4 years old. My mum said that when they would speak Punjabi in the classroom, the teacher would get his slipper, jutti lekani Mark, he would throw his jutti at you if you were speaking Punjabi in the classroom in 1960s England. Why? You're here to speak English, not Punjabi. You must forget your language. So the Kali forgot their language. The baad which they gave them new names. The old names on the film The Roots is about this one Kala who kept his name and his ancestry and his history alive mentally. और सारी चीजें याद रखे. Many children, he would always tell his children that we are from this tribe. My father's name is this. My surname and my name is this. And remember this. This is what we believe. And chori, because if the Gore found out, they would beat them. And because what happened is, as time went past, that guy, that slave's daughter, future grandchild, was the first black person to go to university in America. This is a true film, it's Sach Galya, true story. Yeah. That slave who remembered all the galla of this is who I am, this is my tribe's name, this is my grandfather's name, my mum's name was this. Sari galla yaad karke tell his nyane. And then in future time, his great-granddaughter was the first black lady to go to university. Then she remembered what her dad had told her, what the history which had been passed down. And then she recorded and wrote a book, and that book was then made into a film. That's what it's called, Roots. They were made to forget their names. The Gora gave new names to them. And it's hard, even I've seen within Amritaris as well. Chalo, baki I've seen people as Simon Singh, Peter Singh, Barbara, Corby, Tamina, Canada, Barbara or something like that. It doesn't matter. But even within Amritaris, people became short names. Short names up there. And then the Hori came with the and the names they got washed down. There's no meaning of these names either. Khalsa, we forgot even Singh or we cut them there. Our identity. Gwalior, they were forced to do this. Then they were forced to not remember the history. They were not allowed to pray. They kept their religion alive as well. In that Roots film, their religion is kept alive. He tells the grandfather, tells the grandchild, and then so on and so on, that this is our religion. And the same thing's happening. If you don't know about your history, because you haven't been bothered to research. You can't keep breaking the Gurdwara, can you, all your life? You can't keep breaking your mum and dad. It's not your mum and dad's over there. Or mum and dad name and stuff, they came to do work. I know, mum and dad didn't want to teach me about my history, so I'm not going to go on, that's it. No. You are responsible for your own self. If you made no effort, Devdar to see, not your mum and dad. Devdar is you. You're accountable, not SGPC, India. Or Prachar, they don't tell us anything about religion. No, what have you done? You can read many books. I was shocked, Satalam, trusted, and Khalsa school. There's no good bookshop in England. There's so many books. And that's why I'm really shocked that some of you guys don't know this stuff. So I'm a student of Khalsa school that you probably go there once in a while at least. And still you don't know basic things about your history. Yaad rakho, that we make ourselves slaves ourselves. Slaves by giving up our history, our religion, our maryada, because we haven't bothered to find out who we are. And my Guruji ki kirpa, I always do ardas, and my Maharaj, keep our Sikhi Allah, because Sikhi is truly a gift, not a birthright. And my Maharaj inspired us that may we walk on their same path. And when history is written again, this history, one day we are going to be history, isn't it? Literally history. As you then you'll be history. जब कम अगर तुम्हारे वीर जी दस भाई गुरदीप सिंह दसते सी फिर पहला बुजुर्ग आए सी कनेडा तो they became history. Well, now history books लिखा गया. The Canada Sikh आए सी, they weren't allowed to come here. Then they stayed in the ship and ran. History बन गया. One day you will become history as well. And always remind one good Sikh भाई Nirmal Singh नहीं सी. जब मैं आगे गाल करता सी, प्रचार कर, he came to Canada a few times as well. And the campa the way to गाल कर देने सी. He said, in 100 years' time, imagine history book which you'll be mentioned. Will there be anything worth mentioning about you? Or will it just be, the bande basni, kamte jante si, study karte si, kadi rehn sabaiyan jaake guru karke ghar nu chal jande si. Or will they remember that there was Canada's IC Sikh, England's IC Sikh, or uchcha jeevan si, uchche suche soor si. Not that, oh yeah, Amritaris, their lifestyle and character diminished. The Amritaris of the past, they were like this. I forgot to mention, that the Mughals, so in the same book, Sikh history of Persian sources, was book which again, get the book yourself, you can read yourself. Amazon to this search card. Irfan Habib and I think it's H. Garwal. It's written that the Qazi writes, Lahore, the Qazi seat, and he says that these dogs, dogs, because one thing is that these dogs do not commit adultery, and kise bibi nu they don't look in a bad way. हरेक बीबी ਨੂੰ बुढ़िया कहते हैं, बुढ़िया जिन्ना the modern version of बीबी जिन्ना आज बीबी कहते हैं, बुढ़िया कहते हैं, बुढ़ी कहते हैं, and that's the सत्कार they give to a young or old woman. दस पुरानी and ये ना होवे आजकल होवे इंग्लैंड ਵਿੱਚ कई अमृत छके दे भंगड़े पाਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ तुम्हारा पता नहीं की ਹੁੰਦਾ है मैं इंग्लैंड ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਦਾ
इंग्लैंड ਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ
ਵਾਹ
ਹਾਂ
ਗਾਤਰੇ ਪਾਏ ਆ ਈਵਨ एक मैं फोटो सी केसकी वाली बीबी इंग्लैंड की निकाल करता है कि किसी इंटर आपको शायद आपने भी लुक किया होगा इतना नहीं when you have no तार you have no shine people don't realize that अपने फेसबुक का दे अपने अकाउंट they have on Flickr वो अपनी आप गंदियां फोटो आप लाई जाते हैं and now realize that whole world can see them why and you wonder that are they got brain that ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਪਾਪ ਕਮਾਉਣਾ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ जब बेइज्जती वाले काम करने तो लोगों के कारण तो why जितने कारण है शर्म नहीं होती you lose your शर्म तो मैं याद है एक वाली किसी गुरसिख ने ईमेल किया कहते look at this picture and it's a केसकी वाली बीबी and some दमाले वाले dancing in a nightclub or something मुझे याद नहीं सी it was just a written email was a picture of मैं बेचारा दिखा दिया and Veer ji said that can you imagine 1978 or sheet by
podcast मैं थोड़ी सी ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਮਾੜੀ ਜੀ ਕਈ ਚਾਲਾਂ ਐਸੀਆਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਦਨਾਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਇਆ ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੇਖਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੋਈ ਮਿਸ ਪੂਜਾ ਸਮਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਲੇਡੀਆਂ ਗਾਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਕੇਸ ਕੀ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਦਨਾਮ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਖਾਤਰ ਕੁਝ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੇ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਅੰਸਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੰਦੀਆਂ ਚਾਲਾਂ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਆ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਬਹੁਤਾ ਵੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਡਰ ਹੋਆ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਗੰਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ
ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ 5 ਸਾਲ ਥੋੜੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਮਰਤਾਲੀ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ there's a video I don't know if you've seen it
ਉਹ ਗਾਉਣੇ ਵਾਲੀ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨੀ
it's about a girlfriend boyfriend and all the video that gets in the film if you're into a bit of a scary comedy sickening comedy you'll watch that on YouTube I'm not going to but हाँ जी फिर एक गल है माफ करना and Veer ji this is what he said in the email it's Radhi Gal he said that in the past we'd never imagine a case ki wali bibi to be doing these cheezan हाँ will you imagine a case ki bibi you'd assume ये तो नितनेमी होनी है I can get she was a जीवन वाली but आजकल you don't know whether she's the one who's got fana boyfriend or the match this flan में है ना in a nightclub of all places party their photos see how chatting I remember this and they put their own picture on Facebook and the Veer ji was on Facebook and he sent it to some good six and our gal ho rahi hai and it's really disheartening to see ਇਹ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ that our history books say that our good ਸਿੱਖ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਣ ਗਏ ਆ and truly ਅੰਦਰ ਝਾਤੀ ਮਾਰਨੀ we can't change the world and we can't say one thing is we can't save the world ਨਾ ਸਾਡੀ ਇਹ ਸਮਰੱਥਾ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ no we have a ask of saving the world ਇੰਨੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਿ let's try and save ourselves with Guru's ਕਿਰਪਾ ਇੰਨਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾ ਲਈਏ we try to save ourselves and my Maharaj ਕਿਰਪਾ that perhaps by saving ourselves that Maharaj will bless those who are around us as well so in your bੇਨਤੀਆਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੇ anchor to a friend with not my intention nor do I know anybody personally ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਟੋਕ ਕੇ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਮੂੰਹ ਚਾਟ ਕਰ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਕੁਝ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਆ as your younger ਵੀਰ ਭਰਾ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਆ and but anybody questions I know someone had any questions so anyway you can see me after so maybe all be inspired by history and maybe all have high expectations of where to go it's a long journey I'm not there I'm just on the level 0 myself ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਉੱਚੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਆ but at least ਉੱਚੇ let's aim high let's not do it towards the dirt on the floor let's keep our nigah towards the skies ਅਸੀਂ sky ਵੱਲ ਜਾਣਾ ਉੱਪਰ ਜੱਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਾ ਜੀਵਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੇਠ ਠਾਣੀ ਨਿਗਾਹ ਮਾਰਨੀ ਨਿਗਾਹ ਮੈਂ ਜੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਕਿਰਪਾ may we become blessed like our forefathers ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ
ਬੋਲੇ ਸੋਨਿਹਾਲ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ